You made it.
Yeah.
All righty.
Howdy, and welcome to Top 20 Job Hunting Tech Sites. My name is Nathan Carr from the Newton Public Library. This video is live, so you can participate and ask questions, or it's also going to be saved to the Kansas website, Kansas State website, there on the link below. But it's also going to be on Facebook Live. It's not just me here. I have this fresh face, Megan Kershner from Bethel College.
Hello.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you're willing to do this with me here?
Yeah, so my role at the college is the Director of Career and Leadership Development. So I help students put together resumes, find jobs in the community, or after graduation when they're looking for more serious careers. I help them with interview prep so that they can get those jitters out before they go into their first interview. I also help connect them with alumni that could potentially be doing the same thing that the student is interested in doing. So there's a lot of connections and great things that come from this office.
Very nice. So if you happen to go to Bethel College in the past and they came in to say hi, they would be able to avail themselves of possibly some assistance there?
Most definitely, yes.
Very nice. All right, as always, views and opinions are mine and not necessarily the public library. Please email me, talk to me, and more than likely we can hash something out. There's a lot of reasons. There's some boilerplate slides that I always put in here. This one is about why you'd want to go to the public library even during COVID, is that this one is, we got physical locations you can walk usually within most cities to the local library. We've got human beings you can talk to for assistance and training. We've got robust content. So we've got more than just what you can find on Google, right? We've got white pages. We've got maybe ideas as far as how to change your search terms to help you find what you're looking for. We've got like programs like this where there's all these websites out there that can help you that maybe you wouldn't find from your first Google search. Before you really go out there hunting for a job, putting your data out there for the world to see, please do your Windows updates, do your antivirus updates, do your spamware updates, do your spyware updates, do your firewall updates. Make sure that you're doing everything you can reasonably do to keep yourself protected. It usually takes maybe 10 minutes max to go through and do all your updates. You might have to reboot, add in another 10, but in the end, you'll know that you're better protected than you were before. Please, please, please do your updates. Basically, just kind of the general subtitle of this class would be resume writing and online job searching, to where, so you're not just tossing your data out there, so that you're finding some precision ways, precision spots to land your airplane data here. It used to be that, yeah, you go and you would copy off your resume 100 times and you would just write slightly different cover letters and send off these packets all over the planet, and you would hear back from 2 or 3. But now there's a lot more precision ways to be spending your time and money. There's a lot of different places that I have learned about this from throughout the ages. Some different tech trainers from Salina and different librarians, just personal experience. But here is our webpage is a great place to start. NewtonPLKS.org. It's written on your library card as well. Online resources, web links. We've got 31 different links here. So instead of just the 20 in the title, we've got at least 31 just here. Some of them are duplicated. Some of them are like Kansas Works is Workforce One, is Kansas Unemployment System. They all kind of flow under the same auspices, and they are there for your assistance. They're government agencies. That's what they do for a living. And so they should be able to help you. Although I will tell you that right now they are based out of the HCC JUCO building across the street. Their hours are worth looking into before you just walk on down there. But if you just walk on down there, then they can tell you what the hours are. But that's been my experience with Kansas Works, is that the hours are kind of not exactly 24/7. But there's a lot of places like which I Eagle classified to where if they put it in the newspaper, which a lot of places don't anymore, put their adverts in the local newspapers. Wish more would because we got some great newspapers around here. But is there any comments you'd like to add in for the links that we have here?
No, I think those are great. A lot of those are the same ones that we promote at the college.
Yes. Good, because we were just thinking about going through and revamping, taking some things out and reworking them anyway. So, yeah. One thing about the way that I do my presentations is that I typically put a lot of words on my presentations. Some people hate doing that. Some people will give you a picture of a pair of scissors, a gerbil, and a haircut and say, this is my presentation. I want to talk for 45 minutes, and that's just what you get. My patrons tend to like to go back in time and look at my old presentations so they can check the links and hash things out. So that I like to put as many words as possible in here so that it makes sense to them later on if they just read the notes. Big red words on this one is please don't just toss your social security number out there on every single app you do. If they value you, I've found that they will contact you and ask you that later on, face to face. But I don't know, that's been my experience. Megan, is that still on par?
Yeah, so truthfully, don't ever give out your social security number until you're filling out that background check form that's required. And then they truthfully, organizations do not need the social security number until they either have to run a background check or they have to verify that you're eligible to work in the United States when they're doing the I-9 after you've already been offered that job. So keep that social security number to yourself.
Keep it secret, keep it safe.
Yep.
So there's a lot of online career interest and aptitude tests. That's where I would start. If you're thinking about, if you just left your last job, it's time to rethink about what do you really want to do, because sometimes what they're hiring for isn't what you want to do, and what you want to do might still be paying an equal amount. I mean, there's a lot of jobs for packing boxes out there, but maybe that's not the direction that maybe you can find something that fits your needs a lot better than just packing boxes for a living. CareerFitter.com is one that I had in previous years when I've done this one. I went back and I looked at the website. It still looks the same, which means it's not constantly updated. It still has great information in it. I mean, the recommendations haven't really changed. So I don't know, given the timeline, I would still check it out. It looks like they started back in 1998, which is about the same time I started looking for jobs. Is that probably about when you were born though, Megan and Sam?
Oh. No, I'm a little older.
Oh, okay. QuestCareer.com, same basic idea. They've got their resume writing services are better than just the CareerFitter. CareerFitter really is just to ask you personal questions about, do you like packing boxes or do you like drawing trees, kind of things. But LiveCareer.com is another one, but they've got a lot of other things like sample resume. So I really like this graphic because who I am changes from day to day, or what I've eaten. Sometimes I have different values and different, I'm more skillful at different things, but to really start to analyze this is a valuable process, even if you're not looking for a job.
One of the sites that I like to use is at, it's called Truity.com, Truity. And they have what's called, it's the Holland Code career test. And there's some scientific research behind it, which is great. And you can take it at Truity for free. So it's kind of a reduced version of the Holland Code. So basically you're ranking tasks from dislike all the way to like, and there's a whole bunch of different tasks. So it's probably very similar to the one website that you were talking about as well, that gives a lot of good information as to what you'd be good at based on what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what you're good at and not so good at.
Do they make you set up an account and all that?
Nope, no, you don't have to set up an account. You can just go to the website and just start search. You can search for the it's called Holland Code, HOLLAND, and you can just quick do. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes, I think, to go through all of the tasks, but it's pretty quick and painless.
Nice.
The one other one that I really like for a lot of different reasons, it's called 16personalities.com, and it's the Myers-Briggs, but for personalities. But it also has a really big section on careers, and what careers typically fit within those 4 digits that you get after you're done taking the Myers-Briggs. You'll hear people say, well, I'm an ESTJ, or people like to put people in boxes. And so that's what that is. But just understand that, those interests are going to change. And so you're not always going to be the same type each time. But it also talks a little bit about how you'd be as a supervisor, how you are as a coworker, how you respond to different people when they're asking you to do stuff. So that's another really cool site to use.
INSF.
Oh, yeah, I'm an ESTJ.
Right on. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to go through and get those links up there sometime. Every once in a while, I like to break up the presentation with a little comedy, but this is more of a tragedy because so many people are just putting everything out there on Facebook and YouTube that when it comes down time to make themselves presentable, it's awful difficult. And then I've been gainfully employed here at the library for quite a while, and there's a lot of things that I want to say on the internet that I'm just not gonna because of, the way it would look to the world. If somebody would say the employee at the local library said this or that. And so just the things we got to take into consideration now that we didn't 20, 30 years ago.
Right. And you really want to clean up your pictures and all of your posts, because employers are going to be checking you out on any of your social media sites. That's the easy free one that they can do a little bit of research on you with.
Yeah. If you're lucky, they'll only go back a couple years.
Right. Yeah.
But here's some old data about only half the Americans are now on Facebook, and Facebook beats Google to become the most visited site in 2010. And these numbers have only gone up, really. LinkedIn reaches 100 million user mark. So it just kind of throws across the point is that, it's worth your time. It's not just kids tinkering out on the internet. It's going to make communication easier as far as trying to networking. And a lot of your jobs you're going to find are from fellow friends or locals, I think. Maybe if we lived in a big city, it'd be different, but locals are definitely the way I found most of my jobs.
You bet. A lot of organizations are also posting their open positions on their social media sites because it's free. It's free to do that for most places, especially if you just send out just a basic post about it. But going back to your point on the networking and getting jobs through friends and contacts, 85% of jobs are actually are taken or that kind of thing through networking and through people that you know, or through your different networks or friends of a friend.
Yeah, one thing that just can't be talked up enough is in mentorship, finding people that are in the field that you are wanting to get into and just talking with them and building relationship and learning from them. It's amazing the progress you can make in your career just by emulating people that are already doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can find out a lot about a person just by asking them, who are your heroes, who are your mentors? And that might well be a question they're going to ask you at the job interview. Although, I don't know, legalese, they might not be able to ask a lot of questions like that. But we were talking earlier, Simple Wash and Branch Out are ways to help you try and clear out and clean your identity as far as being on the internet. A lot of these, down at the bottom, I put the links as far as where this conversation was from about an AARP. So the AARP back in 2015 was already thinking about cleaning up your online life for jobs, even for the retired folk they were advertising for. And so if we're not thinking about it, we're way behind the 8 ball already. I consider this the hard part. Maintain your network at all times, even after your job search. I've been at my job for quite a while now, and going back and having conversation, making sure that I'm in contact with old coworkers is, okay, it's not work, it's fun, but it's something that I have to keep in my mind as I go throughout my life. I can't just say, oh, he disagrees with me on some political point on Facebook, because he's still on par with me when I'm talking about my work stuff. And so I might have a question about a scanner or technology that he might or she might very well be able to help me out with. And so maintain that network, keep in contact with those people. It's more than just simple being nice. It's going to help you out.
Yeah, and you don't want to be known as that person that only comes to somebody when they need something. It's really important to maintain those friendships and those relationships so that it doesn't come across like you're only contacting them because you want or need something.
Yeah. That said, so when I asked Facebook about, hey, I'm teaching a class on jobs, have you had any luck with this and that? And that starts a great conversation that involves a whole lot of people from my past that we have a lot of big, fun conversations about. So, yeah, like this PowerPoint, I made it with the assistance of a bunch of friends. It's not just my ideas that I'm stealing from. It's a lot of people. Cold calling. People hate cold calling jobs because they hate to sell themselves. It's pride is not something that we want to be known for, or it's a deadly sin, right? But getting out there and promoting yourself and getting your name accessible to the people that need it, it's kind of what this is all about. It's trying to find a good niche for your skills.
I actually have a really great tip for this. It's like informational interviewing. So if there's somebody in an organization that you're interested in working at that's kind of doing something that you're interested in doing, reach out to them via email, offer to buy them a cup of coffee at the local coffee shop and say, hey, I would really like to hear more about what you do. This is something that I'm very passionate about. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and we talk a little bit about what you're doing in the organization that you work for? Hey, if anything, you just lose out on giving somebody a drink, basically.
And it's bound to be an interesting conversation.
Right.
And people love talking about themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I back in my hometown, I started every other Wednesday night, we would call it the IT professionals group. And so I started inviting all the IT professionals around town to come every other Wednesday, and we would have half-price appetizers. And so that we would create this community, and that's how I found this job. Somebody just said, hey, anybody looking to work in Newton? I was like, I'm willing to drive. And so, yeah, just all sorts of different ways to find your path. Yeah, be prepared when you're cold calling. Make sure you got your facts out together, your work history, and so that when they ask you a question, you don't bumble around too much. You'll haul it up, hems and haws. Know about the industry, how they rank, what their percentage of the market share is, how long they've been in business, definitely what products they make. and about the town that you plan on working in. Check it. Step one, please Google the companies you're interested in working in. There's a hoovers.com. It helps you find information about businesses, but there's a lot of different ways to find out information about businesses. We've got books here at the library. Then there's all the internet stuff. Yahoo Finance provides additional information about publicly traded companies. Yahoo Finance is not what they used to be, but it still has the information that really could help you out here. Oh,
hey, I have a quick, here, let me turn on the video. This is Sam. I have a quick question for either of you. You know, at the library, you know, people do come in and they be looking for a job and kind of this sort of cold calling. I mean, it's in person, but they'll come in and usually people just ask, are we hiring, or are there any jobs available? And that, you know, pretty much that's it. And then we give them a you know, application. You know, it depends if there's an opening or not what we do, but you know, I'm just wondering, is there a way to improve on that approach? Like if say you're looking for some kind of like entry-level job, or like at a Sonic or as a clerk at the library or whatever, what can people do that's like a step above just asking, are you hiring, when you're walking in the door?
not just Googling, but yeah. And we actually hand out a physical piece of paper, which is rare these days. I mean, if you go to Dillon's or Sonic, I doubt they actually hand out a piece of paper, because we get so many people walk in and said that I asked the manager and they said, go check out our website. And that was their first response, their only response.
Yeah.
I think if you're interested and bold enough to go in and ask if people are hiring, make sure that you have your resume with you, and leave it with them. And you might not even, you can ask, hey, do you have any positions open, and kind of tell that person why you would be interested, why you're looking for a job at the Newton Public Library in the first place. Like, what's your interest level? And make that good first impression with that person, and then give them your resume.
Yeah.
I typically hand mine in a manila envelope with the cover letter, the resume, probably not the complete works history, and probably not my entire references, but maybe like the top 3 references that I have. And I think that really helps too. Just the manila envelope, keeping it all together.
Well, you think of, and I'll let you guys get back to your PowerPoint, sorry, but you think of Legally Blonde, you know, or the Reese Witherspoon character, it's printed on pink pastel paper and she spritz some perfume on it, you know. No.
Truthfully, just plain white paper is fine. It honestly doesn't even, in my experience, doesn't even really need to be on resume paper. I do encourage, though, if you can add just little pops of color on it. Not everything needs to be pink and purple and all that, but you know, like headings, your name could be in a nice red or green, or you know, and then employment history is the same, and it needs to be the same color throughout. I wouldn't do one heading is purple, one heading is green, but even just a nice little pop of color to catch the eye is a nice touch, but it doesn't need to be on any fancy paper.
Yeah, I definitely agree with it. It doesn't have to be fancy paper. I always did mine just black and white, just because that's what I had was a laser. But I can see how a step up would be just this pop of color.
And there is nothing wrong with just black and white either.
Nice. Well, Sam, do you have any other questions for us?
Not at the moment. Maybe later. But I don't want to throw off your guys' flow. But I just thought, you know, have a conversation here. You know, it's kind of nice. So
good stuff. Cool. Well, let's see how horribly chippy this is. This might be bad, or not play at all. I do like the data though.
Hi Hi, Andy. My name is Karina. What are some good ways to research a company before going on an interview?
Karina, because of the internet, there's no reason why anyone can't find out a lot of information about the company they're about to interview with. The first thing you want to do is Google the company name. A lot of articles will pop up. Read as many as you can. The next thing you want to do, and this is probably the most important thing, is go on the company's website. I don't mean for just 5 minutes. I mean 30 to 60 minutes. Study their products and services. Find out who the top executives are. Find out where their locations are. And go on the public relations tab. Print out the latest press releases and read them. This way you'll know exactly what's going on with the company now. Next, I recommend going to LinkedIn and doing a company search. This should give you a description of the company as well as their mission statement. Also, since you know the name of the person interviewing you, do a search on them. After that, go to YouTube, do a company search, and put in the names of some of the top executives as well as the person who's going to interview you. See if there's been any interviews done with them and study them. The last thing I would do is go to Facebook and Twitter, see if they have a Facebook page or Twitter account. If so, subscribe to the Facebook page and follow them on Twitter. You might get some really good information about the company that way. If you follow some of these tips, you'll be very prepared to talk to the hiring manager about their company in detail, and that should give you an advantage over other interviewees.
So usually when I'm doing this class by myself, having the video really helps move things along. Just that way it doesn't sound like it's just me saying it, but having an authority really helped. So I don't know, maybe I can skip the rest of the videos. So applying online, it can be the most difficult part of the entire job. I mean, some people, it feels like it's a gauntlet you have to get through to prove that you're willing to jump through their hoops. Like what I was talking about, like the local cabinetry company, it's really tough to get through the application process. And they have troubles keeping people. And so I can see how the type of people that were willing to go through all that and eat their Tums and take some ibuprofen to get through that might be the kind of people that would be able to really get into that kind of really difficult work. Then there's like these job boards where you can just fill out information once and just alter it slightly for individual jobs. And that way it's easier for you than having to fill it all the way out every single time you apply all these different places. So it's just 1 hour instead of 45 minutes every time you apply. I've never actually had any luck with any of those job placements agencies or any of those big websites like monster.com or anything like that. But I've had friends that found exactly what they were looking for. I don't know. Sam, you have had any luck with any of those things?
Well, I mean, I haven't personally used them all that much, but I would think usually when I'm helping patrons in the library, it seems like we usually go to Indeed, unless they have something else in mind that they want to use. Indeed lets you set up an account so it'll hold on to your resume. You don't have to re-upload it every time, and it'll fill in stuff for you. And that seems to work pretty well for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. When I'm working with a patron, it is a lot easier to help them through just that one time when they fill it out with Indeed or Monster than it is to they keep coming in, day out, with the same problem, really, just with different websites.
And HR, human resources, is actually the other part of my job at Bethel. And so we've actually hired some very successful staff from Indeed. I like using Indeed as a tool to post open jobs when there's staffing positions open at the college. For faculty positions, we usually go through higher ed jobs for more of a national search. But I have had extremely good luck with the candidates that have applied through Indeed to positions that we've had.
And those positions would be ones that wouldn't necessarily be locals, right? There'd be people that would be pulling from all over the nation to.
It could, yeah, most definitely, yeah. We've been interviewing. For some of our res life positions, we've been interviewing candidates from out of state that have submitted applications. So that's a great tool to use.
Nice. Let's see. Looks like I hit on the social security number thing again. You know, they'll respect your stubbornness if you don't get the social security number on the first piece of paper that they hand you. It's best face to face and just for the federal forms. Emails. Having a fairly professional looking email address, even if it is just a Yahoo or a Gmail or a Hotmail email address, having kittycat340 versus sarah.jane.moore is going to be a better play as far as what I've seen so far. Beyond traditional background checks, employers may check your internet information about Facebook and MySpace, kind of things we already hit upon there. If they contact you by email, some people say to print off the message and save it and put it in a file folder. That way, when you go into the face-to-face, you'll have it and ready, you know, so you can see what day they contact you and what you've been doing since then. So you don't accidentally walk in there thinking that you're applying for one job and it actually turns into a different one. Email usage, email message is usually the first point of contact as far as what I've gone through, unless it's through like one of those job sites that they email you job site first and then they contact you. Write down information about phone messages, place it all in the same file folder, keep everything together, just for sanity's sake, been my experience. Some people like to do interviews in informal places like coffee houses, and we were talking about that earlier. Do you find, Megan, that a lot of people will do the interviews like at the college, or do you actually go over to the coffee house part of the college?
So when we're interviewing candidates, we always reserve a conference room for our candidates to meet with the search committee on campus. Not all organizations are big enough to have conference rooms. So coffee shops are a great place, and I have seen our local coffee shops being used for just that, for informational interviews, for regular interviews. So that's very common.
And especially before, well, you know, we've got some limitations now with COVID, but definitely, and I'm sure we'll get back to it. The library is a place where people do come to do interviews or to do those informational interviews that you were talking about, and it's a great. We're happy to host those.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll look for a table in a corner, someplace a bit quiet. Yeah, seen a lot of those going on. When it comes down to writing your resume, it's a trend, really. Some people like to have bullets. Some people want it to be very conservative on the spacing and no lines, because that makes it easier to copy and paste into different editors, whether that be Word or Sheets or Docs or different things. Some of them want it just as straight-laced as possible, and some places they want you to maybe pop a collar just to stand out just a bit to show that you own yourself a decent printer.
Hey Nathan, can
yeah.
we go back to the previous slide? I saw something on there that I thought was really great, and I wanted to point it out. That find out the relationship of the interviewer to the company and the terms of employment. So it's really important to know who you're interviewing with. Get their name and their position at the institution, the organization, and make sure that you send them a thank you note, whether it be a thank you email or even a snail mail card to them is great. But those thank you notes about 24 to 48 hours after the interview is really big, and that is something that not all candidates do, but it's one that if you do it, you leave an impression, and you leave a good impression. So yeah, make sure that you send one to everybody that you interviewed with, because it leaves a really good taste in their mouth.
Oh, nice point. I don't think I've ever actually done that. Is that the one where you spritz it with the perfume?
No, don't do that either.
Okay.
Also, with the formatting for your resumes here online, I always recommend that once you've created your resume that you're about to upload and shoot off everywhere, that you save it as a PDF. because then it's going to look the exact same no matter what processing software anybody's using. So if they're using Google Docs or if they're using Microsoft, it's going to open up as a PDF, basically like a picture. So that's how I recommend people upload their resumes, and then it keeps the formatting exactly how you want it to look.
Solid point. Solid point. So they don't have to find out if they have a Word 2008 version or 2016 version or
Right. Yeah.
whatever version. It just PDF just flat works. That makes
Right.
sense. They could be using Apple or their cell phones at that point.
And I usually tell people to create a master resume. So that's going to list literally everything that they have ever done, any organization, whether it's related to what you're applying for or not. So you're going to have a master resume, and it can be 10 pages long, right? So then you basically cut and paste the stuff off your master resume to put on your tailored resume that you're going to upload and shoot off to candidates. That way you don't have to sit back and remember, okay, what did I do? I know I did something in 2005 that relates to this.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit back and try and think about stuff.
In the college world, you might call that a curriculum vitae, right?
Actually, so a CV is actually a little bit different than a resume, and it would be it's more for when people are applying for graduate schools, because it highlights more of their academic research and those kinds of things, and work experience is almost minimized in relation to the research and the academic experience that somebody has. So CVs can be long. They can be well over 2 pages, whereas the resume, you don't want it more than 2. 1 is good. You don't want it more than 2.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I've got that. Actually, I need to update it because I've been calling it curriculum vitae, but it's basically that master resume. It's got everything I've ever published, all that stuff, as well as jobs and job history. So
right, and CVs do have anything that you've ever published on it, so you are correct in calling that a CV.
Yeah, I went through and I just did mine. I just called mine a complete works history, to where it told me where I worked, when, how long, and my references from that job.
Mm-hmm.
I keep that one separate. I don't send that one out, but it helps me keep things straight. Words used in resumes. And once again, this is a trend. I mean, some people might prefer problem solver than problem solving, and there's other things that they might prefer from one year to the next, one job to the next. So maybe they got burnt last time. They came across somebody that used problem solver instead of problem serving. I've run into to where it's kind of difficult to tell what people are looking for. And so that's one reason when people come in looking for job help here at the library, I'll tell them this, I can help you out with this is the basic minimal, but then please go over there and help to have them tell you what the trend is as far as how to make it pretty so that it's more likely to be accepted.
Some really good words for your resume. If you just do a Google search of action verbs, that's how you want to start each bullet point of your resume. So you directed, you're going to leave out personal pronouns like I, me, and my, because they know the resume is about you. So you don't need to say I did this. They know that you're talking about yourself. There's directed X number of people, or managed, or facilitated. Yeah, you've got all these great words.
Back when everybody's still using Word a lot, threw this thing together. But
it's great. Yep.
Back when it was important to like when I was making my resume as part of a web page, I threw in a bunch of keywords so it was easier to search for.
Yes.
Just things like this.
Yeah. And I think you're probably getting to this, but take the job ad and pull words that they've put in the job ad and put that in your resume. A job ad, truthfully, is the perfect, most ideal candidate. And a lot of organizations are never going to get the perfect, most ideal candidate. And so when you're looking at that that list of duties and expectations, try not to get too discouraged, because if you meet some of those, at least half of those duties and requirements, you should still definitely apply for that job. Just don't get too overwhelmed by what you see.
Yeah, and when they start asking you questions, if you keep hammering right back to those things that you do nail and that you know how to show examples of that you know how to do, that's really going to help hammer it home for them too. Yeah. I think this is still a thing where always include employment references when you're applying for a specific employer, especially if those mentors really reference the job that you're helping out. So if you're including references to pastors that you had when you were 12 years old that have nothing to do, if you're not going for a pastoral job, then maybe leave those off. But yeah, references, I've never had anybody come back and say, we didn't hire you because this reference, wasn't helpful at all.
So there are some trends right now out there where they're saying not to include the names of your references as you're applying, and only because those are your gold nuggets. And if the employer is not even interested in contacting you as the applicant first, and they're going to go straight to your references, that's not a job you want to get involved in. So a lot of organizations will ask you to include references, and if they specifically ask, then you should, so that you're following all of their steps. If they don't specifically ask for references, I tend to tell the students, leave them off until they ask for them, because they'll ask for them if they want them and need them.
Is the fear that maybe the job might hire one of your references instead of you?
No, and truthfully, I'm not entirely sure what all of the rationale is behind that. Just that you don't want the organization to contact your references and talk to them before you've even had a chance to discuss the job with the company. You want to make sure that it's a good fit for you before they reach out to your gold nuggets, essentially.
Interesting. All right, good to know. Lots of different tools for making resumes. I mean, every different version of Word pretty much ever has had a resume template built in. Most are fairly horrible, but they get you started. It's a great jumping springboard as far as what I've experienced. I don't think that I'd ever use just straight the template, but because I'd always take it over to have somebody else polish it just a bit, because a lot of times they will know a lot more than I would just, starting out know about the certain current trends at least. And there's more in Notepad doesn't really have a template, but Google Docs, Microsoft 360, OpenOffice, LibreOffice. So if you don't have money invested already in Microsoft, there's all these other different ways that you can then use these other templates that are just, straight off the board, good ways to start.
There's a website, and I posted it in the chat. It's hloom.com, HLOOM.com. They have thousands of free templates that you can download right into Word if you have it, and if you're tired of the Word templates that they're giving you. These are kind of a fresh look, and they go from clean and simple all the way to very creative infographic ones if you're a graphic designer type resume. And they also have matching cover letters that you can get as well. So the template for the cover letter kind of has the same heading as the resume does. It's a nice packet to put together.
Nice. And that's in the notes. Did you include those other ones?
Yep, I typed up those two other websites there in the chat.
Groovy. I haven't checked that yet. Yeah, as far as the types of resume, yeah, because you're going to have a different resume based on your skills. Are you going to want to highlight your skills? Are you going to want to highlight your education? Are you going to want to highlight your work experience? Are you going to want to highlight, like Sam, all the previous things, the things that he's published? So you're going to have different military experience. You're going to have different types of resumes based on who you are and what you've done. So sometimes the base template is just not going to highlight who you are and what you can do. You know, your awards, certificates, military experience, chronological. So you might go through and list all of your experience backwards in time. I mean, you probably don't want to start with your very first job at Dairy Queen. You probably want to start with your last job that may very well have a lot more to do with the job you're applying for than your Dairy Queen job. But I don't know, if you've got so little experience that you are including your first day at Dairy Queen, then on one page, then maybe you're the kind of resume that you are just looking to show that you have been in the workforce for, you know, the last few years and people have found you hireable. So I don't know, there's different types of resumes, what it's trying to get at, and as far as different reasons why you might want to include your first job. Like my high school daughter, she might well include her first job because it might be her second job ever that she's applying for. Functional jobs that to flaunt your skills, to show that you've got lifetime dedication. You've worked at this job for 20 years. You might definitely want to highlight that as compared to somebody who has worked 30 different jobs in the last year and a half. So yeah. And I've got some examples. These links go off and tell you a bit more about what a functional resume kind of looks like compared to the chronological resume, compared to a recent high school graduate and college graduate. I like to keep these links around because when somebody comes in the library, it helps to be able to send them off to this reference this type of resume to help them better write, you know, for their experience. This firstwriter.com is a great little page. Jobsearchabout.com helps you also now learn a bit more about types of resume. I think I'm going to skip that one. Spell check, please spell check. And if I'm messing up here on the slides, please email me because it would be awful embarrassing that I screwed up and when I'm telling you to use your spell check. My email address is right there for the world to see. I get a lot of emails and I'd be happy to reply. So when I was talking earlier about professional looking emails, it's my first initial last name at my job. And so that's kind of a general template for a lot of jobs as far as first initial last name. Megan, is that kind of a standard kind of an email format you run across a lot?
Yep. Yeah. A lot of times I see first initial, last name. Sometimes I'll see first name, last initial, but yeah, it could be anything. I've had my one work email I had was my first initial, middle initial, and then full last name. Yeah.
As long as it doesn't spell out something awkward.
Yes, right.
Oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't share it. Anyway, my director here at the library, her initials are M.E. And so when she writes a note, she'll write M.E. down at the bottom as if me said so. And so
like that.
I don't know if I'd necessarily go with that for an email, but it would be hilarious to have me at newtonplks.org. Let's see. 2 pages, 1-2 pages should be maximum size. They're not looking to get a huge packet of things to go through just to learn a bit more about you.
Yeah. So actually, on average, recruiters only spend about 6 seconds looking at your resume. So a lot of times they might, and if they're really interested, they'll go to the second page, but a lot of times they won't even bother with the second page. So you want to make sure that you get most of your good stuff, at least on the first page. Yeah, you only got about 6 seconds before you make it into the yes or no pile.
So at that point, would you go with bolds and underlines in the middle of it?
Like bolds and underlines in the middle of your resume?
Yeah, where you have some keywords, phrases maybe?
The only areas that I would really bold and underline would be the headings, truthfully. But yeah, if you have got a significant work history, they will continue looking. But once they've kind of seen what you're doing, what you have been doing, they'll make a determination whether or not they're going to bring you in for an interview. It's quick.
That is pretty brutal. 6 seconds. I suppose, is that resume or is that cover letter and resume?
It's just your resume.
Okay. So do you suppose they spend a bit more time if they see a cover letter?
They'll spend more time reading your cover letter, from my experience.
Because that's where you get to show who you are, who your character is.
Yes.
Who your character is, what your character is, and who you really are.
Yeah.
But I would still recommend using the formality of Mr., Mrs., and don't get it wrong. You really don't want to get that part wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you forget that they're a doctor or a professor, they'll let you know.
Yeah. Yep.
I would go with, I mean, unless you know otherwise, I would go with Ms. Ms. every time. I would think don't try and guess their marital status.
Correct.
That'd be all part of Google it. Please Google it. Yeah.
Anyway.
Cover letter writing. There's style books and Strunk, common style books, and once again, styles change. It might not be, but just helpful things to think about. And here's just more of me writing in as many words as possible so that people can go back through and check it later. Here's somebody that has some pretty decent recommendations about the cover letters. I skipped over that one. I only have 5 minutes left. You know, I think I'm going to leave this video for somebody who's actually wants to go back and watch it from the notes. They can watch it later. There's a lot of job boards, Indeed and Monster and Kansas Works, 360 Wichita, Western KS Jobs, Go McPherson. But there's a lot of places out there, Career Builder. And of course, I work at a library. I want to say books. We've got so many books out there that you can spend your time going through and reading. We got a lot of patrons that come in looking for jobs that don't have internet. So I can help them out while they're here, but then I'll send them home with a pack of books and they'll come back the next day and then edit their resume based on ideas they came across in some of these books.
I would add just a few months ago, we got 6 brand new up-to-date books about resume writing, including books for the military, people transitioning from military to civilian career, books for older job seekers, and then some just general books. So if you really want to dig into resume writing, check out those books.
Yeah, it shouldn't be as trendy as it is, but it changes, you know, as from week to week, month to month, year to year. I mean, just saving it as a PDF, it's not something that most people really did 5 years ago, but it's a brilliant idea, and it's really easy now to just hit file, save as PDF, whereas before you'd have to download a separate program and do all sorts of hoops to save your Word perfect document as a PDF. So Newton Public Library, we have something called Learning Express and Job Career Accelerator through the state. And I've got some slides that help you figure out how to get to that and how to use their website. You register, username's your library card number, password's usually the last for your phone number. You go through and select us from the list, or the state library from the list. I'm sorry, this is state. This is not your local library card. This is a state library card. If you don't have a state library card, come on in, show your photo ID. We'll give you a little piece of paper, and you can use it for a lot of things online, including Learning Express. Whew. Well, I'm glad I caught myself there. That would have been an awkward set of questions and emails from people later. But it's Learning Express. And so this is where I ask Sam, do you have any really clever questions for Megan before we go?
I was I can't think of. I just wanted to add one more thing that Mary Ann, our director, pointed out to me recently. It's called gotresumebuilder.com. I don't know if you've seen this, Megan, or
I have not.
but it's just got as in gotresumebuilder.com, and it's really cool. It's kind of you know, it's just you just fill in kind of like these forms. And it takes your information and formats it into a professional looking resume. And it's really customizable. And the great thing about it is that it has advice and explanation for each step about how you should do this. And it really kind of holds your hand through the whole thing. So it's totally free. And I think that this is one that I'm going to start using to help people that come in wanting to start a resume because it's really user friendly.
Yeah, that's great. And it's really great that it's free. I've seen some of those sites where you can plug in, but then they charge you before you get to see your actual resume. So that's awesome that it's free.
Yeah, actually, I was trying to figure out how they make money. I haven't yet, but I haven't encountered anything that's not free. So yeah.
Nice find. All right. Well, in that case, unless Megan, you got anything else to add?
I think that's it.
Very good. Well, as always, we're on Facebook. We got a web page. Give us a call. Give us a fax. Find us. We're here. Thank you for signing in, and we'll have another class next month.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Megan. This was really interesting, and I know that that we've had a kind of shock to our economy. So a lot of people looking for jobs. So it's good to get some advice from the experts.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
All right. I will go ahead and